We're at the IATA AGM, and I'm speaking with Rick Durlew from Pratt & Whitney. Thank you.
Hello, Anson. How are you?
Haven't seen each other for years.
It's been a little while. You know, there's this pandemic going on or something.
Yeah, it's a thing.
So
Okay, so the theme at IATA is sustainability, and I find myself maybe a lonely voice in the wilderness, a bit skeptical about this. The fact is that I'm going to just be a gadfly. I think there's a lot of virtue signaling going on. I don't know who the audience is, but engines are how airplanes develop. What's your view? What's the corporate view?
sure. So first, I would say that I saw sustainability becoming a global topic. Europe was always, I think, a little bit ahead of the rest of the world in aviation as far as sustainability. But I think it really started getting a lot of momentum. I can remember back to, I think, our last IATA Live, which might have been Seoul. And it seemed to be a big topic at that point. I remember talking to different airlines, and whether it was One World or Star Alliance, the groups were getting together, and it was job one. I will say, then in March, at least from a U.S. European perspective, come February, March, when this pandemic really, what I call a light switch event, where we went from 100 miles an hour to zero, that conversation quieted down a little bit because it was survival, right? Whether you're an OEM or whether you're an airline or a leasing company or anybody in the industry, you were trying to survive that time. So it quieted down. I will say that it has picked up dramatically in the last 6+ months. And so I'm even seeing it as airlines now are starting to think about recovery and starting to think about what their fleet looks like. There's been a lot of in the news about campaigns going on, and I see airlines for the first time coming out with RFPs talking about sustainability, what we're doing, and everything. So to start off with, I'd say that's kind of there is a real front and center conversation right now around sustainability and how important it is to the world, to the environment. My 2 daughters will remind me every day. That being said, I kind of view our position, Pratt's, is kind of 3 different phases, right? So phase 1, we're in it, right? So I see the GTF as disruptive technology. It kind of drove the other engine OEM to have to do something in regard to fuel burn and noise and emissions as well. So one thing I sometimes don't always do enough of is taking credit for what Pratt and our engineering team has done in regard to our current technology. Just think about how the fuel burn, emissions, noise have positively affected the environment today. And growth is happening, and the good thing is this is mitigating a lot of that additional growth and actually probably having a positive impact into the overall levels that are out there. So that's number 1 is what we've done. The next is 2. Right? Phase 2 to me is 2 different examples I'll give you is one being SAF, which the group I'm in with commercial engines, we're obviously front and center of the conversation, but also hybrid electric, which Pratt Canada is very involved with. So that's what I'm saying is the here and now. That's stuff we're doing and looking at and investing in to take us and continue to mature that environmental agenda. So with SAF today, we're 50% capable today. We have a clear path. We feel comfortable that we'll be 100% SAF capable within 2 years. And I think that's the easy part, right? The engine OEMs, I think, will get there. I think the infrastructure, whether it's fuel holding tanks or how we deliver that fuel, is in place, is reusable over current energy. The hard part is how do you get that feedstock, right? And so, people say, well, how fast can you go from 50% to 100%? I don't think it matters as much, even though we're going to do it in the next 2 years, because there's not enough feedstock to do 50% today. The example, a U.S. major, I won't say who, gave me an example of they could go out and purchase all the available feedstock today, and it would allow them to fly for 1 day, right? So what I see happening with airlines, as I've started to travel around this summer, is you see them partnering with different technology companies to try and figure out how to keep growing that feedstock. I also think you're going to see the normal big energy companies, right? Whether it's Shell or Phillips, you're going to see them starting to get more and more involved, right? At the end of the day, they're an energy company. So whether they're delivering Jet A fuel or SAF, it's something that's within their wheelhouse to go do. So I think that's an important part of what's happening here. I think we are trying to partner with airlines. We're trying to look at the technologies to see how can we help influence that outcome. But that's the challenge. It's how do you get that feedstock? And today it's expensive still, right? It's I think roughly 4x what normal fuel would be. So that's got to get solved, feedstock, and therefore pricing of that to get it to where it needs to be. In regard to Pratt Canada, I'm not an expert, but I think they're committed to this hybrid electric program. I would say that it's more for 14 passengers or less for smaller aircraft and or general aviation, but I think that's a real opportunity. So again, phase one, GTF, right, has done a lot already that we're getting benefits from. Phase two, whether it's SAF and or hybrid electric, we continue to grow that. And then you talk about what I think is where you're more cautious or less optimistic is what I call phase three, which is as an industry, we are all rallying around zero emissions by 2050, whether you're an airline, an OEM, leasing company, or the traveling public for that matter. That seems to be, the what I sometimes call the moonshot, right? I equate it to when John F. Kennedy said, we're going to get to the moon by X, and people said, well, they don't really have a clear path to how to go do that. I think as an industry, that's kind of our moonshot, is how do we get to zero emissions by 2050? I don't have an answer to tell you, here's how we're going to do it, because I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I would be on an island somewhere or doing something very different. But I will say, I think this industry is incredibly resilient. I think they're very creative, and I think they're committed. So I don't have a definitive answer of what that technology is, but I think the industry has a definitive commitment to trying to figure out how to get there. And ultimately, all of this will get us going in the right direction, right? That's my desire, is that we continue technology in a way that gets us closer and closer and closer.
Right. I mean, that's a very nice, predictably nice response. My thinking here is when I see, we don't have to say who, but some people talking about, we'll have hybrid airplanes flying by 2035. They don't talk about the fact that it's maybe a 19-seater.
Right.
A lot of people that came to this conference in Boston flew across the Atlantic.
Yep.
They wouldn't have made it if it was, this mythical future. So there's a lot of unicorns here that I think it's going to be fascinating, because the challenge, throw down the gauntlet to the industry, which is a good thing. But the virtue signaling and the hype seems to me, everybody's thinking about the 2035, 2050. No one's thinking about how many steps you have to go through, and the other things that, like, the things you have to break.
Right.
And the accidents and the tribulation. This is a step change.
But again, I go back to, I think, just think of a world without a GTF, or I'll give LEAP credit, right? There's a 15% better airplane right now that Airbus and Boeing have because of that technology. So we're chipping away at it. You're right. There's not a 100% clear, definitive path to get there, and some may be skeptics, and I understand that. But we as an industry need to push ourselves to get there, right? And I think there's that commitment, and we're going to have to go figure this out as an industry. It's something where I would say it's a unifying moment in our industry. You do see everyone on the same page in regard to this. And so there's a difference of opinion on how to get there and what technology will do, but there's not a difference of opinion that we need to get there. So some may have a different technology that gets there before us, and then we have to follow them. Or others may get technology first and have to follow them. But I do believe that we're committed to this. And I certainly know Pratt & Whitney and Collins, all of us at Raytheon Technologies are committed to it.
Thank you, Rick.
You got it.